This is 7 News, the voice of regional WA.
Hello and welcome to 7 News. First tonight, a community of rough sleepers in Albany have been rocked by two recent deaths at the city's railway station. The site has offered shelter to a growing number of homeless people. Local service providers say with more housing or support services, the deaths could have been avoided.
It's far from a home, but this platform offers shelter to those without a roof. But these rough sleepers have been left shaken by two deaths on the site.
One of a gentleman who was homeless, living down near UWA in the train tracks, and another, obviously, the young woman who died recently, who wasn't specifically homeless, but was engaged with the homeless.
Some who would normally sleep by the tracks are choosing to move.
There are a few guys who've shied away because of the notoriety that we're getting down here.
They are quite in the open, and we have had clients come in telling us that stuff is being vandalised down there and damaged down there. So people are now starting to move into the town centre.
Others say the recent deaths have made locals more compassionate.
They walk onto the platform, say hi, here, have a chook. Walk onto the platform, say hi, here's the remnants of my child's birthday party.
Pivot Support Services says since last year, the number of locals using its service has almost tripled.
As far as I'm aware, we're the only region that has absolutely no crisis accommodation. We also don't have a residential rehab, which is adding to the problem.
The state government says 50 social homes have already been added to the Great Southern. Another 47 are still to come. But rough sleepers say these properties can be too selective or unsuitable. St John Ambulance has had 10 call-outs to the platform in the last 8 months. Pivot says if Albany had crisis housing, that could have been avoided.
If there was even a rehab facility, they could have been avoided. If there were support networks where they could go, outside of standard operating hours, these deaths did not have to happen. It's a tragedy that they have, to be honest.
Grace Armstrong, 7 News.
A man has been found dead inside a Midwest home after it was destroyed by fire. Emergency services were called to the blaze in Dongara's industrial area last night. It took an hour for crews to control the flames. Witnesses told 7 News smoke was seen billowing and the house was quickly engulfed in flames. Nearby workers used water tanks to try to extinguish the fire before help arrived. It's understood the victim was a metal sculptor who'd been living at the property. Arson squad detectives are investigating, but the fire is not being treated as suspicious. WA's controversial Aboriginal cultural heritage reforms have finally been repealed. In August, the Premier vowed to reinstate the previous 1972 Act with targeted amendments. He apologised for the stress, division and confusion the reforms had caused. Today, the new laws came into effect. The opposition says the state government's backflip on the reforms was the result of people power.
They're brave and courageous reports of people going to the forums, presenting their views, standing up for their rights and standing up for common sense. That is really what has changed this process. That has turned around this Act of Parliament, which was completely not fit for purpose.
The union representing QantasLink pilots in WA have struck an in-principle agreement with the company. If the pilots vote to accept the offer, it'll put an end to threats of strike action.
In October, the pilots stopped work for 24 hours. Flights across regional WA were thrown into chaos. Thousands of passengers were affected. The pilots wanted a 50% pay rise. They said that would then bring them into line with mainstream Qantas pilots flying the same planes with the same passenger loads. The company was offering a 25% increase. Talks had broken down in March, and after the October strike, pilots had threatened to do it again a few weeks later, this time for 48 hours. Just days out, it was called off as the parties were going back to fair work. It's understood that after 4 days of mediated talks at the Commission last week, the airline and union reached an in-principle agreement. That agreement will now go to the pilots and they can vote on whether to accept it or not. Andrew Porter, 7 News.
The Shire of Broome has debunked claims that the town is in the midst of a crime crisis. In State Parliament, opposition leader Libby Mettam had said the town couldn't continue to be marketed as a premier tourist destination if violent crime in the area continued. But the Shire president says that's not the case.
We're definitely not a town in crisis. It's sort of painted a really adverse picture of Broome at this current time. No one's denying there's a crime problem up here, but again, we're just like any other town in Western Australia. Those crimes can be anything from vandalism, damage to property, stealing, all sorts of things. So it's not about serious crime. And we've done a lot of work to combat crime rates, and well, mostly our crime rates are alcohol related. So we're working closely with other agencies and the police about alcohol management. It's still a place to come and visit and enjoy a really good holiday.
It comes after a woman was sexually assaulted outside her property at the weekend. But the region has long been a tourist hotspot. This week, Willie Creek Pearl Farm walked away with gold at this year's WA Tourism Awards. COVID and the cost of living has seen a significant drop in the number of available volunteers across the state. From mentoring country high school students to providing emergency relief to displaced Kimberley communities, this service has a tremendous impact. Hundreds of volunteers from regional WA have flocked to Perth for the annual Volunteering WA conference to try to find some solutions.
Saving lives from land and sea. In regional WA, volunteers play a vital role.
So having volunteers in emergency situations is crucial. So you couldn't manage without them, and especially in regional areas, towns couldn't run without them.
In the Kimberley, they're helping locals get back on their feet after January's once-in-a-century floods.
Whether it's for food or for bus fares to get home to their communities.
And they're providing one-on-one mentorship to Wheatbelt High School students over email.
They have a long-term relationship across the whole time that they're in that high school. They have a person who's there for them to talk to and always there to be their safety net.
But across the state, volunteer numbers have dropped 22% in the past 6 years, down to 523,000 people.
When I go to the supermarket, I can see my volunteers working rather than volunteering because they need the extra money to pay for their bills. Rent's so expensive in Broome, everything is expensive in Broome.
We have a small community who usually volunteer for lots of community groups, and in a disaster or things like that, they're actually overextended. Have to choose between which volunteering role they're going to be.
The annual Volunteering WA conference this week, a reminder about why it matters.
Giving back to the community makes you feel better, it can help your mental health, help you live longer, just feel better about yourself.
Jenny Shon, 7 News.
A group of Western quolls has made a 4,000-kilometre journey from regional New South Wales to the Wheatbelt. They've been taken to join another colony of the endangered marsupials at the Mount Gibson Sanctuary.
A 12-hour trip by air and then by road, these 11 quolls have come from Dubbo's Taronga Western Plains Zoo in New South Wales. Their new home, the Mount Gibson Wildlife Sanctuary in the Wheatbelt. They joined 34 other Western quolls.
They were all looking happy and healthy on arrival. We gave them a health check when they got into Perth and then again on Friday before the releases.
While these little predators were once found across most of mainland Australia, a combination of feral cats, foxes and land clearing has reduced numbers by 95%. This new release is a crucial part of restoring their population.
And the introduction of the Taronga quolls to the sanctuary has been incredibly important because it allows extra genetic diversity. So we've got individuals whose parentage is from other sites in WA, which we haven't yet translocated quolls from.
And the relocation to the sanctuary seems to be working. Ecologists have been finding joeys. The newborns are already developing the iconic quoll spots.
It's incredibly special to think this is the first time in decades that quolls would have bred on this site, and to think that soon we'll have a new generation out and a population growing at Mount Gibson is really special.
A combination of radio tracking and drone monitoring will keep track of the fluctuating numbers.
We'll continue to check in on their health and their well-being, and we'll be using remote cameras to take images of them as they move throughout the sanctuary to see how well they're doing.
All to ensure the survival of these little endangered marsupials. Pip Waller, 7 News.
Time now for a look at the weather across WA today, and there's a broad low pressure trough that's lying through central parts of the state, while further south a high pressure pattern is starting to strengthen. It was hot and sunny across most of our far north today, 40 degrees, the top in both Wyndham and Kununurra today, 32 in Broome. Marble Bar was our hotspot, 41 degrees in Newman. Mostly sunny moving into the central west. It reached 27 in Carnarvon, the same in Geraldton. It was a warm 36 in Meekatharra and a warm day moving into the Goldfields as well. 38 the top in Laverton, a little bit cooler in Kalgoorlie. It was a mild day further south, sunny and 26 in Busselton, cool and cloudy in Albany, and further along the coast a top of 25 in Southern Cross, 15 overnight before 18 degrees today in Esperance. A little bit of a mixed bag on the rain map tonight. 33 mils was the most in the gauge until 9 a.m. this morning, falling at the Mount House airstrip. 16 mils recorded in Norseman and 7 mils falling in Albany. To our weather wall for today, and it's a very big hello to the Year 6 class at the Bunbury Baptist College, and hello to Corby, Clive and Sahara at the Jundranung Remote Community School. Well done, everyone. We'll have the full forecast coming up a little later after sport. You're watching 7 News live across regional WA, and still to come tonight, a huge botanic garden planned for Mount Barker. And the Midwest woman keeping tradition alive.
They were there 1 minute, the next minute they were gone. They simply vanished.
2 young girls, they mattered to people.
There's unexpected terms and unexpected results.
A second round of funding has been released to help victims of January's floods in the Kimberley. The Perth Lord Mayor's Distressed Relief Fund will provide $15,000 for vehicle repairs, or $40,000 if the vehicle was destroyed in the flood. Applications for this round of funding can be made in person at the Flood Hub in Fitzroy Crossing. The flooding was caused by ex-tropical cyclone Ellie, which left a trail of destruction through the region. A 5-hectare botanical garden in Mount Barker is soon to take shape. It's been the dream of Phil Tunstall for more than a decade. Once finished, he estimates the community garden will include nearly 1 million plants.
To the average eye, the old Mount Barker Primary School is just a derelict site. But for Phil, it's the property he's been searching for years.
Started as a kid, passionate about sunflowers, and then it grew from there. So started in 1981 in a retail garden centre and worked through, been in the industry most of my life.
Phil is a horticulturalist from Perth, but the search for his dream botanical site has taken him around Australia.
And I was looking for something with main road visibility, plenty of rainfall, good soils. On a trip down to Albany a few years back, I saw this and it just festered in my brain, and I thought I've got to take the plunge.
It spans 13 acres. Phil plans themed gardens such as native Australian, Mediterranean and Asian fusion. He's bringing flora from all over the world to the one location.
I want to take people on a horticultural journey, basically from the desert to the tropics in a day.
But to reach its full potential, Phil needs philanthropists and local contractors to jump on board, even a bunch of garden-loving volunteers.
If it's all approved in time, there'll be wholesale growing, production nursery, retail garden centre, cafe and botanical gardens.
Phil is also looking at opportunities for short-stay accommodation and an art space within the garden. He says the project will take his whole life to complete. Grace Armstrong, 7 News.
The Ningaloo team has won an award in the 2023 Natural History category at the Association for International Broadcasting Awards. The awards were held in London over the weekend. Claire Kingston, the post director, accepting the global award. The film dives into Ningaloo, one of the last intact wild places on the planet. It was filmed over 57 weeks in remote areas of Exmouth. A Midwest woman you're about to meet is helping keep an old tradition alive. The horse rider is part of the 10th Light Horse Regiment. After overcoming a battle of her own, Natasha Pierce has found the activity has kept her going.
For local rider Natasha Pierce, her love of horses continues to grow. Last year, we caught up with her after a terrible car accident. She suffered major spinal injuries. Her saddle replaced with a neck and back brace for months.
It's been a long journey and I have ups and downs.
Today, she's better than ever, back gearing up in official World War I gear, an original saddle and bayonet that were used in battle.
Marching drill displays, and also we'd also do skills and arms.
The passion started 7 years ago, something that's helped Natasha with her own battle after developing PTSD.
That's the main important thing, is about keeping me going.
She recently learnt her great-great-uncle was part of the Light Horse Regiment in the Battle of Gallipoli. Her role in this year's Remembrance Day felt extra special.
Goosebumps. I could say it was goosebumps for me.
She continues to get others involved.
Tasha's had a big impact on my life too. Like, I've gone through PTSD. And
like her love for horses, Natasha hopes the tradition will never die. The group visits schools to continue to raise awareness.
Teaching everyone about the actual light horse.
The 10th Light Horse Association has groups based across the southwest, Esperance, Albany and Geraldton.
We just need more people involved. We want to keep it going, so yeah, definitely is.
Josh Van Staden, 7 News.
Coming up after the break, sport, and tonight a trio of regional stars recognised as WA's best surfers of the year. And our Sheffield Shield team on a quest to bounce back. Western Australia returned to Sheffield Shield action this morning as they aim to bounce back from last week's defeat. WA's bowled out South Australia for 192 runs at the Wacker in a history-breaking match that means more than just the 6 points for the ladder.
There's plenty riding on this first-class match, and Joel Paris got the reigning champions off to an electric start.
Oh, there's a big shot for LBW and given. So it didn't take long for Joel Paris to get into the game.
Bunbury's Sam Whiteman's decision to bowl first proved pivotal. Shortly after Paris's wicket, the visitors were 2 for 17.
Edge, there we go. And a comfortable catch. There's the swing on show here at the Wacker.
South Australia then began to find some runs, but the wild thing was quick to put that to a stop.
Brilliant, brilliant from Morris. He asked plenty of questions in his previous over. This time when it goes past the edge, it finds the off stump.
WA continued to rip through the Redbacks this afternoon as they look to take the inaugural Rod Marsh Cup. The trophy was announced this morning to honour the legacy the champion wicket-keeper made to the game.
It'll just make these contests a little bit extra special. They're always, as I said, great contests, and I expect the next 4 days will be no different.
From now on, the award will end up in the hands of the winning state every time they meet in the Sheffield Shield. Julian Vicentini, 7 News.
The Perth Scorchers will look to maintain their top spot on the WBBL ladder when they take on the Sydney Sixers tomorrow afternoon. Bunbury's Chloe Paparo is in the squad, coming off an unbeaten 22 not out. Port Hedland's Zoe Britcliffe has also travelled with the team. If selected, it'll be her 2020 debut. Perth entered the match coming off 3 consecutive wins and sit first on the table. The Perth Wildcats coach believes his forward star from the Kimberley won't be suffering any nerves when he takes on his old teammates tomorrow night at RAC Arena. Derby's Keanu Pinder is gearing up for a battle against the club where he spent 3 seasons and won 2 NBL Most Improved Player awards. Coach John Riley says the 28-year-old will let his basketball do the talking.
I just talked to him about his consistent effort and the things that he can do to control that emotion. The way that he plays and the energy that he plays with, he can just accumulate his value in a game, rebounding. The passing that he's been doing of late is phenomenal.
The Wildcats and the Cairns Taipans take centre court tomorrow night. A trio of regional stars has been recognised as WA's Best Surfers of the Year at the State Champion presentations. Margaret River's Jacob Wilcox clinched his first ever Male Surfer of the Year award. The 26-year-old earned the accolade after a dominant season which saw him qualify for next year's World Surfing League Elite Tour. Gracetown's Bronte McCauley was named Female Surfer of the Year, and Margaret River Grommet Willow Hardy took out the Junior Surfer of the Year title. In all, 38 regional surfers were honoured for their achievements across 52 divisions. I'll have the weather next, and then in 7 News at 6, a wage shock. Which workers got the biggest boost? Welcome back. Before we take a look at the forecast for the next few days, it's a very big congratulations to Meryl and Ken Richards from Boyanup. They're celebrating 65 years of marriage today. A very, very special milestone. So to the weather now. Tomorrow we can expect showers and gusty thunderstorms through the southeast goldfields and southern interior. Further north it will remain hot over parts of the Kimberley with some gusty winds over the southern half of the state. Much the same on Friday. As those thunderstorms continue, we could see some patchy fog over the northern Gascoyne coast, while our south should remain clear and dry. By the start of the weekend, those temperatures down the west coast will begin to cool just a tiny bit, but remaining very hot over central parts of the Kimberley. And those conditions are set to continue into Sunday with the maps unchanged. To the forecast for tomorrow, though. Hot and sunny across our north. 39 the top in Wyndham. Mostly sunny in Fitzroy Crossing. It should reach 34 degrees in Broome. And we'll see similar conditions heading into Exmouth with clear skies there. Partly cloudy across much of the central west, but remaining hot. 38 degrees in Gascoyne Junction. But it's set to become windy in Geraldton with a top of 33 degrees. Sunshine across our southwest tomorrow, 28 the top in Bunbury. It'll be a windy day in Albany, dropping to 9 overnight before 24 in Bridgetown tomorrow and 27 in Northam. There's a severe weather warning in place for parts of the Eucla and the South Interior District tonight. We can expect heavy rain, gusty winds as well, but a different story moving into the goldfields, 23 degrees in Kalgoorlie. Moving to local waters now for tomorrow. Swells to around 1 metre on the north and west Kimberley coasts. West-southwesterly winds to 20 knots. Further down the coast, there's a strong wind warning in place for the Geraldton coast. That'll extend down to the Lewin coast, with wind conditions there expected to reach 30 knots. And that warning also in place for the Eucla coast, with swells to 2 metres. Taking a look around the rest of the country tomorrow, it'll be a sunny 32 degrees in Cairns, thunderstorms in Brisbane, showers and 18 in Melbourne, and back home in the west, a glorious 29 degrees and sunshine for Perth tomorrow. That's our look at local news, sport and weather for the day. I'll be back with updates through the night. 7 News from Perth is next. From all of us here, good night, Western Australia.